All right, hey everybody, it is Wednesday the 17th of May. My name is Doc Severson. You have found ReadySetCrypto and our ONE service. So today we're going to be talking about the crypto markets plus taking your requests. But first, before we get started with that, I want to know where you guys are coming in from, and if you could go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, let everybody know that we're getting started here today. We'll be done by the half past the hour. So the next 30 minutes, we'll be doing a speed session, going through as much as we can. All right, so let's get started here. I'm just going to talk about BTC for what I see right now. And we're going to go out to just the price and volume chart here on BTC. So what we're seeing on Bitcoin is off the bottom. Really, since the beginning of the year, we've been putting in these weekly pullbacks. And guess what? This is another weekly pullback. This is a daily lower high, lower low. This is a daily downtrend, but it's a very shallow one. And it's coming down to an important level of support, which is the swing test, as well as some of the important anchored VWAPs as well, too. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the volume profile, everything else like that. Who do we have here? We got Jack coming in from Darwin. We have Benoth coming in from Myanmar. We have Steph, Amsterdam. And G-Baz from the Pepe community. Fantastic. We can take a look at Pepe later on. All right, so a couple of different ways to look at Bitcoin here. Again, what I really would like to see, and this is what I've been talking about with my elite members, is that I want to see a monthly higher low. I want to see a monthly higher low. And the reason why we want to see that is because we have got to trap the bears. Got to trap the bears, and you got to get that monthly higher low. If you look at these, all of these were monthly higher lows. Higher low, lower high. Here's another higher low. That was the trap. That's really what set things off, and that was right around the pandemic. This was actually another higher low, although it was kind of higher low at 32,000. That was kind of brutal to take, but it did lead to a higher high. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see BTC come down to a higher low here, and maybe that's going to come from a higher price. I don't know. We'll have to see, and I'll show you guys some of the price levels later on. Hey, Tom, coming in from Columbus, Ohio. That's where I moved down here from. So moved here from Westerville. No more winters. No more winters in Greenville, South Carolina here. At least, it's pretty mild, though. Pretty mild. We get snow like once a year, and then it goes away. All right, so looking at the weekly chart again, these are just weekly pullbacks that we've seen since the beginning of the year. Since the beginning of the year, just weekly pullbacks off of the 200. I remember everybody talking about how Bitcoin's going to die at the 200-week moving average. Now it's support. Okay, so whatever. All right. So, hey, Noza Capital, how you doing? Doc here. All right, let's see. What else can we look at here? So, again, I don't mind if BTC pulls back a little bit. I don't mind if BTC pulls back a little bit. We do have some interesting, right now the anchored VWAP from the March rally, the price is above, price is below that. So that's going to be used as resistance for right now. And this is why I think we could still come down to somewhere in the 24 to 25 level as support. And also what we have is volume profile, which is something else that we can use when we're looking for areas of support and resistance. And a couple weeks ago, I talked about if we lose this node, we can see a very quick move down to here. And actually that happened within the space of a couple of hours. So we did technically get a bounce off of there, but I don't think we're done yet with this pattern. Although if we start to drive above 28, this may be over. That may be it for this weekly pullback. We'll see. All right. Guys, let me know what you would like to look at. I do these sessions not to hear myself talk, but to go through your coins. So some of the ones, let's see, we have the Pepe group here. Let's take a look at Pepe. That is our meme coin of the week, or of the month so far. And we talked about this one a couple of weeks ago when it was moving like this. And we said, don't chase after this because they get punished. So I know that there's all those stories out there of people buying into Pepe and making $1 million, but unless you sell into strength, that can be a paper $1 million because it can go away in a hurry, right? So I think we looked at this, and you could buy 1 million of these for $1, 1 million of these for $1. So that's what drove this after a while. Plus, it had a cool avatar to it. But right now, this is showing a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows along the way. So far, this is a higher low. But right now, it seems to be the bears are swarming all over this one. So I would be very cautious. Now, we've actually seen a lot of strength in, of all coins, Litecoin lately. Look at Litecoin go. Who'd have thunk that Litecoin would be driving the market right now? So that is Litecoin, but it's still in the same range that it's been within. Still in the same range, and it's still around this big volume profile node here. This is the point of control, just above the point of control right now. All right. So who's going to be first here with your request? So let's go ahead. Let me know what you guys want to look at. Otherwise, I'll just keep looking at coins here. Ethereum is in the same kind of pattern that we're seeing from BTC, which is a weekly pullback at this point. All right, Steph, you got Litecoin open and a long fill. Let's take a look at Litecoin again. So you got a long fill at 96.87, 96.87. So that's pretty close. You're just about made whole again here. Seb. Okay, so Seb has got a question here. What are the three things that we should learn before we start trading? Is it charting patterns, support and resistance, and technical analysis? I would say probably the most important thing is your reaction to things, right? There's a guy by the name of Alexander Elder. He was he's stowed away on a Russian freighter and claimed asylum in the United States. I think this must have been like the 70s or something like that. And he actually ended up getting a job as a trader. He calls it the 3 M's. The 3 M's, okay? And you can think of this, I'll try to do some art here, but you can think of this as like a 3-legged step stool. A 3-legged step stool. So all of these have got to have equal lengths on the legs. Otherwise, you run out of balance and the whole step stool falls over, right? So 3-legged step stool has got to have equal lengths of mindset, method, and money management. So mindset comes from, you can't instantly just turn on and say, today I'm going to be a disciplined trader. Because haven't we all chased after rallies and then puked out at bottoms? And then chased after the next rally and then puked out at the bottom and then chased after the next rally. We all do this, right? Everybody gets involved with crypto at the top. This is when all the new crowd comes in, and then we sell it to them. So mindset comes from understanding how to think differently about, I would say, fear. Mindset comes from thinking differently about fear. Right? Because it's fear of missing out on the upside and then fear of loss to the downside. So you've got to flip that. To get a right trading mindset, you've got to be able to flip that so that when you see something selling off like that, instead of seeing fear, you think, opportunity. They're just about to puke out and I'm going to look to find a way to get in. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go out there tomorrow and start buying the first chart that starts dropping like a stone. That's the old catch the falling knife thing. But again, mindset is something that you work on over time, and it's almost like building up your set of armor, like through chainmail, like one link at a time, one little experience, and learning from losses will get you there. You're not going to learn a thing from a winning trade. Okay, so that's mindset. Now, method is the way that you're going to attack looking for opportunities for this. Now, chasing after a rally, chasing after Pepe is not going to help you, right? It's to find those things before they get taking off, or finding ways and saying, all right, I'm not going to buy it up here, but I'm going to wait for a pullback to maybe a 61.8% fib, and then I'll sell into strength, or using whatever system that you're going to use, whether or not it's based on the market fractals, based on the RSI Laguerre, based on anchored VWAP, based on volume profile, whatever you want to do, or chart pattern, something like that. So picking your method, I think, is very important for you to know who you are. What most people do is they just chase their tails. You know, they're chasing after one technique. They'll take a couple of trades over there, or take a couple of trades with this, a couple of trades with that. You know, they don't really have a method. They're just chasing after things. And they're, you know, hey, somebody on Reddit said that you have to have an RSI 14 on here. Otherwise, you know, add it to your MACD and your stochastics and everything. Like, so we end up just chasing our tails based on what we read on social media. So finding out what your method is extremely important. Defining what your method is, and it needs to make sense for you. And then finally, money management. A couple of things in money management, right? If you can just do these two things, you will be so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to money management. Rule number one of risk management: do not enter a position unless you first define what your stop is. What's your exit? Don't enter a position until you define, wait a minute, you're just about to hit that buy order. And then you say, wait a minute, at what point would I be wrong? Or at what point would I sell this thing? Now, what's the usual answer? Well, I'm not going to sell it. I'm just going to hodl it. I'm just going to hang on to it. Okay. Well, what happens if it starts going down? What do? I mean, every time we run into a bear market, it's, you know, the former hodlers are like, oh, you know, I'm getting nervous on this and I've got all these bags. What should I do with them? Well, you didn't define your exits. So that's step number one. Define your exits before you get them on board. Number two, make sure that no one trade can lose more than 2% of your capital. No one trade should lose more than 2% of your capital. Define that. So either enter with very small positions where you don't care. That's what we call the old Viking funeral. A Viking funeral is where, you know, you put the body on board the boat, you set it on fire, and you push it offshore, right? That's what we want to do with our trades. Then and only then can you effectively manage these things, when you just don't care what happens to it because your capital utilization is so small. Trade often, don't care about the losses, or define them in such a manner that you don't care what happens to it. It's only when we trade big that all of a sudden our brain goes away. So those are the three things. So I'll knock it off there. That's the 3 M's: mindset, method, money management. Those are the things that you got to focus on to make it in this business. All right. Sorry, I got on a rant there. Okay, let's see, 95.87. All right, so you're almost whole. Okay, let's, so Seb, let me know if you want me to clarify that at all, that jumbled mess of thoughts that I just went over. Okay, so ORDI, let's go look at ORDI. And guys, I want to see some coins out there. Let me know what you guys want to look at. Ordinals. This is a brand new one. Has not been around for very long. So it's very hard for us to give any kind of, price. This is typical for something. It gets announced and it will just sort of coil in there. And what you're going to look for is for it to break out of this pattern and start to show some kind of supply, demand, and balance, right? Supply, demand, and balance. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, I think it's, the guy's name is Alexander Elder, And the book he wrote is called Trading for a Living. So that was one of the first books I bought 8 million years ago when I got involved in this stuff. But as a Russian immigrant, he's a very interesting guy. Or you could probably find some YouTube videos on him as well, too. All right. Joan Link. Let's take a look at Chainlink. Send me your requests, folks. Let me know what you guys want to look at. Let me know what you guys want to look at. So Chainlink has got a terrible chart. This is just awful. Chainlink has just been brutal. Chainlink was our rock star, right? So all the way through 2018 into 2019 into 2020 into 2021, Chainlink was our hope, our shining beacon into the spring of 2021. And then it has been nothing but a disappointment ever since. Now it is building out a base. It's building out a very long base. I can get rid of these arrows because we're no longer looking to buy this one. But this is very typical that we'll see it set up a base like this. And you're going to see this in most coins right now. You're going to see these big, long, extended bases, right? So wait for it to break out from these bases, as long as you're not long already. As long as you're not long already. Okay. So that's Chainlink. Chainlink is in purgatory right now. It's in, I would say it's on a void. It's on our avoid list, even though it's part of our top 30, believe it or not, top 30 cryptos that are out there. You know, it's funny because it's like I follow the top 30 all the time, and it's like right now you've got maybe the top 5 and the rest are just crap. You've got the top 5 and everything else just sucks right now. So this is very much a top 2 market. I'd say BTC and Ethereum. And you'll have the occasional coin which gets minted and all of a sudden it rips, but then just as quickly gets pounded down. Pepe is a good example of that. So, you know, those are the carnival rides of the crypto world. And we need to get away from that type of stuff. If this market's ever going to be taken seriously, we need to get away from that, because it's like nobody takes the penny stock world seriously either. You know, certainly people can make money doing something like that, but this is, we want to, there's actually something I'm starting here in ReadySetCrypto.ONE. If you go out to our website, ReadySetCrypto.ONE, you can sign up for a trial for a week if you want and see what's out there, see what kind of resources that we have. But I'm going to start what's called the One Bitcoin Club. So there's a very specific way. I think it would be great if everybody out there owned at least one BTC, right? Own at least one BTC. And then, that may do it. You may be done at some point in time with one BTC, depending, as long as the dollar doesn't like completely erode itself, which may actually drive BTC higher for that matter. So one Bitcoin, I think, 1 out of 21 million, talking about scarcity of supply. So there's a very specific way that we can get there using combinations of techniques such as dollar cost averaging, such as selling cash secured puts for assignments, such as selling covered calls against assets that you already own, things like that. There's a very specific way that we can get there. Or whatever coin that you want. I don't want to get religious about this stuff. Whatever coin that you think is going to be the way to go. But Bitcoin so far has, nobody's knocked it off the perch yet. Nobody's knocked it off the perch. Okay, let me get back to what we got here. Barry wants me to look at LIT. Now that appears to be a ETF stock. So we'll take a look at that. I don't know about that. I don't know if NYSE Lithium ETF. I don't think that's that. Maybe we can try it. Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so all right. The whole EV industry has been kind of very difficult to trade because obviously it went nuts based on the promise. And then since then, you know, some of the SPACs I got into are just eating dirt right now. So what you're looking at right now, I don't know if you're already long, but I would wait until this starts to clear the descending pattern. Rule number 3 says descending patterns will eventually break to the upside. And that's going to be your opportunity. Once it breaks this trend line, you can look to perhaps, but until it does that, just let it go, because that's a weekly downtrend. In fact, that's a monthly downtrend as well too. Lower highs, lower lows, let that play out. Let it play out. It will tell you when it's ready to start accumulating to the upside. Okay, Jonathan wants to look at H-bar. That is what, Hedera. H-bar, let's look at H-bar, USDT. No, that can't be right. Let's see. Hedera hash graph. Why is this, did this get oh, that's because I'm looking at a bloody monthly chart. That's why. There we go. Okay, so H-bar, what's going on with H-bar? Now, a lot of times what I'll look at is it trading above the 200-day moving average? And the answer is no. It's one of these many assets right now that are trading in a base. It's kind of crawling along the floor, setting up the base. Eventually, it's going to rip. Money will rotate around and look for a good spot, as long as there's some kind of use and utility on this coin. And that's going to be above 10 cents. So let it just, don't chase after this one. Wait until it exits the base. You'll know. It's kind of like those old Bond movies, right? Where all of a sudden you see a rocket come out of a mountain, you know, where you can't even see it. All of a sudden it just shows up. So set yourself with price targets, price alerts, things like that. And until that point, don't spend another second looking at it. All right, NOSA Capital, XAG. Let's look at XAG. All right, this is not a bad looking chart. This is on Bitfinex. So we do have a daily uptrend. We have weekly higher lows and higher highs. It's going through a daily pullback right now. It's above, it did not hold the swing test, but it's holding. So what you might want to look at here to determine whether or not this is a worthwhile trend is look at the fibs. And fib retracements come at 38.2, 50%, and as far as 61.8. So I would like to see this hold the 38.2 to be a viable kind of a slingshot pullback here. It could technically get down to 50%. I don't like it as much. And if it's down to 61.8, it's already below the 200-day moving average. It's starting to transition. This does go through some pretty deep pullbacks, though. So it may do that. It may do that. But right now it's showing a weekly uptrend, which is a good start. But be very careful about where you get on board this thing. Make sure that it actually is bottoming out and starting to head higher. That's XAG, XAU. XAU. Hopefully these are not stocks, right? These are crypto coins. XAU. This one looks actually pretty good as well too. So this is showing a weekly uptrend. Weekly uptrend. Trying to exit the pattern. Again, do the same thing with this one. This seems to be moving into consolidation, seems to be transitioning to the downside. What I would do is I would throw some fibs on this one from the bottom of the swing up to the top. And I would say a great place for this to find some support would be the swing test and the 38.2, right in this area here. That's about 1950. In that area, I'd like to see it bounce no deeper than that. Bounce no deeper than that. Okay, NOSA? All right, SEB, RNDR. All right, so. And I'm going to speed things up here. So that's a nice, this is a good example of a nice bounce off of the 50-day moving average here. So nice bounce off the 50. Looking pretty good. Now let's see a longer term. So this is render token. Render token, terrible, terrible. Set up the base, and now this is a good example of something which is breaking out of that base. Remember the base that I talked about? Render token at the beginning of 23 said, hey, I'm out of here. I want to leave purgatory. I'm out of jail. Set up a higher low, higher high. It's transitioning to a weekly uptrend now. That's good. So I like this one. That's a good looking chart. It's a good looking chart, and this is a nice, this is where the RSI Laguerre can come in and tell you when to buy on these hook signals. So these are nice hook signals, and they're really quick too. So very good render token. Okay, Hex, let's take a look at Hex. Hex was in bad shape for the longest time. Let's see, Hex versus USD. Oh, it's, is that really the way that we want to look at this? Yeah, it is. Okay, so Hex was doing really well until a couple of weeks ago and has had a bad month here. Notice where the volume is coming in. The volume is coming in to the downside, and that's not a really great sign. So I would say Hex right now, especially in price and volume, is below the 200. I would say this is on a void for right now. Hex is on a void. And next one is Zilliqa. So we'll finish up here in just a couple of minutes. Zilliqa versus Tether. And it has no trend whatsoever. If we look out at the weekly chart, this one is fairly terrible, as Charles Barkley would say. It's terrible. Okay, so just it's in this flat base. Wait till it gets out and above this base, which is going to be above 4 cents. So let it just grenade itself and self-destruct down here. Once it's ready to get out of the base, then you can jump on board. Okay, and Tom from Columbus checking in with DMTR. All right, so what's going on with this one? That is, that's not pretty. There's no way to look around this one. I don't know if this one even exists anymore. I guess it does. Let's see if we can. All right, so all of that is compressed into barely anything right now. So it is above the 200-day moving average. But given a look at the weekly, you're right near the very bottom of this thing. So this is just the very first start of getting out of jail. What I don't like is how the price has come down and eaten up all of this. So you could look at a long if it's able to drive above this. That sets a higher low, higher high combination. If it gets above 5.5 cents, then it's a buy. Until then, I would say no bueno. All right. Okay, we have reached the end of our session here today. Don't forget, if you guys would like, let's go over to our platform. This is my ReadySetCrypto.ONE platform, where we got all kinds of trading courses out here. We've got Learn Crypto, crypto trading. We've got signals coming in. This is trend trading signals that we have out there, the RSI Laguerre signals that are showing up. Again, here's a couple of ones that just hit in the last day or so here, like APT. Let's go look at APT and see what it's doing. APT. And this is a RSI Laguerre signal, which just showed up. This is an RSI hook. So get you in early on some of these things as they are leaving the station. Okay, so join us if you can. We'll give you a week of free trial if you want. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody, for showing up and for checking in, and I will see you guys. Thanks for showing up. Bye now.